Hello fellow Yakuza members, I'm Kinglink and this is my review of Yakuza Kiwami. Now if you don't know, I gave Yakuza 0 my game of the year last year. It was one of my favorite games and I was thrilled to have played it. Now I've been calling for Yakuza Kiwami ever since because I just want more of this series. It's out, so let's take a look at it. Now right off the bat, take a look at the game. You know, it looks damn good. I'm going to be starting with some story content so you can see how nice cutscenes look, and then we'll play around. Now this is the early game, only chapter 4. I'll try to ensure no major spoilers here. With that said though, I think the game took a nice step up, but it comes with a little caveat. You see, Yakuza Kiwami means Yakuza Extreme or Ultimate or something along those lines. But it also means that this is a remake of the original PS2 Yakuza game, which means they're retelling a story, and that's going to come up more than once. But there were choices of what characters to use in the game due to the limitations of what could be done on the PS2. So we have mostly young characters, only a few really detailed models. Now, Yakuza Kiwami doesn't have anything that requires like the Kuze model of Yakuza 0 or really any other model in that game. It's a slightly better graphical engine in my opinion, but it has things that are easier to draw because of it being originally on PS2. You know, it's not a major problem, just something to be aware of. The story of Yakuza Kiwami is a bit different as well for the series, and perhaps that's the one thing that really stood out to me. This is an attempt to retell the original Yakuza game from the PlayStation 2 era. It sticks closely to that script, not really changing that much, and the fact is, well, the story itself feels off compared to what we've already seen in Yakuza 0. Now, Yakuza 0 is an outlandish, off-the-wall game with a great adventure, bizarre moments, and interesting characters. Yakuza Kiwami's story is very good, but it's lacking a lot that made Yakuza 0 stand out. It's a little more structured and a little simpler. It also has some odd storytelling moments, such as flashbacks that don't really say they're flashbacks, and an odd focus on everything that's not Yakuza. I've talked about that in the past, but this game really takes it to the extreme. A decent-sized chunk of the game meanders and focuses on a little girl, as well as a ton of characters who, well, if I judge this without considering that this is a remake, it's not really a great story. It's solid and good, but knowing it's a story that came from the PS2 era and was from the beginning of the series made me realize what happened here. Now, this is a story that was released 14 years ago, and really it shows its age a little bit too readily. If you want to know more, I will go deeper in the written review as well as telling the beginning of the game, but I'll keep it very light here. But let's move on to the gameplay, because that's going to be a good amount of your time. Now the good news is a lot of this game has been improved even from Yakuza 0 to Kiwami. The fighting system takes all three styles from the original game for Kiryu, that's Rush, Brawler, and Beast, and then adds an all-new Dragon style that becomes the focus of the game. Now I found myself focused more on Beast in this game for a couple reasons, and the biggest being that you usually fight large groups and it's better for that. This was my least favorite fighting style in Yakuza 0, and yet it was my most used here, but that's how stuff evolves. In addition, that new Dragon style gets used for the first hour or so of the game, and then for story reasons it goes away. Now, much of the game will be spent regaining that power, and I'll talk about that process in a bit. There's also a few QTEs in the game, not too many, but they're frustrating when they pop up, as it's really easy to enter the wrong command because of how fast they come up without a good break. But the generic fighting system that works for all the enemies is pretty good, and I've enjoyed most of the battles here. I do use repetitive attacks, but that's also kind of what I expected. Now, until we reach the bosses of Yakuza Kiwami, the fighting's great, but oh boy do I hate the bosses. These are the big problem of the entire game. Now, Yakuza Kiwami adds in a new feature where a boss will double over and breathe heavy. This sounds like a great place to combo them and just rack up a lot of damage, but instead it actually allows them to recover health unless Kiryu pulls off a finisher to stop them. Kiryu needs a full health bar to pull off this finisher, to switch to the right type, have the right skill purchased, and to be in the right position to hit Y. It's really just a complex system that it doesn't work as they expected it to. You can even see Majima Goro use this in the video, so check that out. If Kiryu doesn't pull that finisher off though, and when I say off, it's in a few seconds that he has to pull it off, the enemy will start gaining energy back really quickly, and it will be a net gain for them. Even worse, if he doesn't pull it off at all, the enemy regains a huge chunk of life. It's like another QTE, just not a good one, which honestly almost every QTE is generally bad. Add in the fact that the bosses have a ton of health and pull this trick off at least twice per battle sometimes, and you'll see why boss battles have become kind of a sticking point for Yakuza Kiwami. It doesn't help that there's not one great boss that keeps coming back here or gives you a great reason to fight him. The one boss I really loved was the final boss, no spoilers, but I think of Kuze in Yakuza 0, which was such a great fight each of the 5 times that he appears. Here, most of the fights just feel like you're at the point of the story that they just had to toss out another boss fight because you're at the end of the chapter or some other reason. I wish it was a little bit more deeper, but that's how the game flows. Kiryu in Yakuza Kiwami is regaining his former glory though, and he'll do that by leveling up his abilities again. Like Yakuza 0, there's a series of upgrades set in a circular ability tree. Here the player is going to earn skill points instead of money to level them up. In fact, the money in Yakuza Kiwami is pretty pointless overall. Now enemies give skill points pretty readily. You'll see me even gain a few here very quickly, and every 2 or 3 characters all throughout the game will give you enough experience for a single point. But the game starts throwing huge amounts of these skill points by the end of the game as you reach major milestones in the story, which is good because it's a progressive tree. Well, it starts with a 1 skill point skill. I actually will buy a couple 3 points, then there's 10 points, 50 points, and 85 points for the end. So getting a 200 point bonus at the end of the game is necessary to avoid a lot of the grind, and I applaud Sega for that. That's the right way to do this stuff. Kiryu also gets noticeably stronger in the game, and while he's a bit weak at the beginning, I actually forgot how weak he was, but he becomes a great fighter at the end without being able to point to a specific upgrade that he needs to get there. Now, that's how you deal with 3 of the 4 upgrade trees in this game. The last, the Dragon Style, is a different story. Kiryu loses that Dragon Style for plot reasons early on, like I said, but as he returns to Kamurocho, he runs into Majima Goro, who wishes to fight the Dragon of Dojima. Ah, God, I love this game. And plans to revive the style, which he does by continually pestering Kiryu with fights. You know, that's Majima logic at its finest, and this is why I love the character. I say pestering though, but personally I ran towards Majima Goro and all these fights every chance I got. Not only is Majima a fun character, but the new system around him called Majima Everywhere is one of really the bright points of this very serious game. Fighting Majima over and over will help you unlock the dragon's skills, but in addition there's a leveling system. Once you hit the end of a level, Majima will disappear until you find him for a scene. Now the first time this happens, I actually didn't see Majima for a couple hours, and it was because he was waiting for me to find him in a specific location. Which, okay, that's a bit flawed because the game didn't really help me find him and there wasn't a way to nudge me back towards him. But these bonus scenes are worth looking for just for how outlandish they become. Now, a small spoiler, but my personal favorite is a scene with Goromi, which is Majima dressed up as a cabaret girl, while still showing his tattoos and eye patch and everything. It's bizarre, but rather than being a different way to just enter a battle by a surprise attack, instead the game just has Majima Goro flirting with Kiryu, and Kiryu flirting back. And the scene ends like most of Kiryu's cabaret dates. There's not even a fight at the end. You know, it's really hilarious, strange, and just that wonderful spark of inspiration. I can't even explain it. It's not the only one that's really out there, and it's not even close to the most outlandish version. Like I said though, this is one of the wonderful moments for Yakuza Kiwami. It kind of plays everything a bit too straight for my taste, but the Majima Everywhere system brings the insanity that I was hoping to see. Sadly, much of the rest of the game is pretty tame by its standard. Well, except for Mesu King, if I'm saying that right. Mesu King is basically the new version of Catfight. That was one of my least favorite parts of Yakuza 0. But this time around, it's a card game with scantily clad ladies dressed up as insects fighting using the rock, scissors, paper system. It's odd. Okay, extremely odd. And yeah, alright, a bit sexist. But then Yakuza gives it its usual Yakuza twist, and Kiryu is playing the game against young boys and girls, probably between 5 to 10 years old. Again, bizarre, strange, and rather funny. And Kiryu actually calls out this oddness of it as well, but these are 2 of the brightest spots in this game. There's the potential for more, of course, but really, the game is rather tame, like I said. I have a feeling much of this is because it bows to the original game's story. The side quests too are a bit weak, and many of them come directly from the PlayStation 2 title. Now, in addition, the minigames are kind of lacking. I missed the dancing system from the original game, and I also missed the karaoke. There are new games back, the cabaret dating is here, but it's not as good. All of this is a shame because Yakuza 0 kept me engaged because I wanted to see what it did next. Yakuza Kiwami did keep me engaged because of a good story, but lacking those great moments along the way to divert my attention. There are some good improvements though. The biggest one that is something I've called for, and you actually see it in this video, is an autosave. And what makes this even more special is this appears to be exclusive to the PC version of the game. According to what I've read online, there was no autosave on PlayStation 3 and no autosave on PlayStation 4. Why did they add autosave here? You know, let's not ask questions, but I'll thank Sega for it. It's a great improvement for the system. At the end of the day, I like Yakuza Kiwami a lot. You know, it does have a few issues. The boss fights are kind of crap. The overly serious stories stick out as different, but I still enjoyed the game overall, and the combat system was fun outside of the boss fights. If you finish Yakuza 0 and you want to see more of these characters, like I did, Yakuza Kiwami is an easy recommendation. You need to play this game. If you haven't played Yakuza 0 though, I would recommend that game first to make you more familiar with these characters and ensure you want to go forward with the series. I give Yakuza Kiwami a 4 out of 5. That's still a great score, mind you. It is less than Yakuza 0, and that represents a minor step back in this game. It's not that Yakuza Kiwami is bad, but it has problems that it's trying to shine next to its older or younger brother, who has done so well for himself, and it's held back by being a remake rather than a brand new game in the series. You know, I can still see the outline of the original PlayStation 2 Yakuza here, and that becomes a problem. But I still enjoyed my time, and I'm going to end it with that question. Yo, Sega, when are we going to see Yakuza Kiwami 2? I'd even settle for Yakuza 6. But I need more of this series. And that's really Yakuza Kiwami in a nutshell. Still really happy here, and at 20 bucks there's no reason not to pick this up. With all that said, we're going to be moving on to the Humble Monthly Bundle for April 2019. We have Northgard at the beginning there. We'll talk about that next time. Though I do have a question for you. Are you already fans of Yakuza? Is this the first you've heard of the series? Or could you somehow not like the series? Let me know down in the comments and let's talk about it. If you did enjoy this video though, or are looking forward to the Humble Monthly Bundle, consider subscribing. The Hyrulean Knights are always looking for more, and we're on our way to 300 subscribers, and I appreciate any help with that. Throwing a like at me too would be the least you can do. Until next time, I am Kinglink, and thank you for watching.